Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday, a weekly show where we come on here and we talk about trending news, trending topics, things that are going on in the world and how they relate to the Latino community. And, we're giving it from a Latino's perspective. So with that being said, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If you've been a consistent listener, we're going to do things a little different today. We're going to be right back on schedule next week, but we want to focus on one specific topic today. And if you're in the finance space, entrepreneur, these gurus and whatnot, you kind of know what's going on, but we definitely want to speak about it, give you guys our perspective, our opinion, and how you can avoid getting yourself in any of these messes, right? Before we get into that, Jeremiah, how you doing today, bro?
I'm blessed, bro. I'm blessed. I'm obviously happy to be here. Crucial conversations that are going on today. So super blessed and happy to be able to contribute a little bit, but feeling good. Hopefully you're doing well as well, man.
Man, blessed and well, feeling good. So I want to first off give a huge shout out to Nancy. Nancy's the one. Now, look, we've kind of spoken about this topic in the past, but not too deep. We just gave her a perspective. But Nancy hit me up on Instagram and she was like, yo, we need you guys to talk about this. People are losing their lives about what we're about to talk about. People have taken their own life, unfortunately. And she basically said, like, yo, we need people to educate us about scamming culture and doing bad business, right? And, let's be honest, doing bad business, scamming, it's been around since day one. It's been around forever. It's going to be around forever. People scam in all type of ways. My wife and I were just talking the other day, and she was like, man, people find a way to scam with anything. You know what I'm saying? Like anything. And what we want to dive into today is all of this is alleged. We're not coming after anybody. We're not trying to gossip. We're not trying to start a fire, start any beef. We just want to come on here and educate our people. And this whole thing is about DJ Envy and Flippin' NJ, right? The whole situation of with the real estate, people investing, losing their money, and whatnot. And we're not necessarily going to. There's principles and there's things that we can take away from this story that I want to talk about. And this is all legit. We don't know if it's true or not, but essentially, what's happening here is a well-known influencer who has a massive following, who has built relationships with a lot of people in the industry, who has earned the trust of people following him, teams up with another entrepreneur to promote that entrepreneur's services, products, whatever that person can offer. That's not illegal. That's not scamming. That's actually smart, extremely smart. You see big businesses, big companies utilize influencer marketing all the time. The first company that comes to mind is Nike. They'll go out, they'll look for a Kobe Bryant, they'll look for a Ja Morant, they'll look for a LeBron James. Why? Because they know that person has influence. If they can sign that person, sell that person's product, they know it's going to sell because they have an influence. So that's not a bad thing. It's smart. But what the issue is when you say you're going to do something and you don't do it. So allegedly, people have been investing with the two of them. Again, DJ Envy has the influence to bring in the masses. Caesar has the brain and the entrepreneurial experience to implement what they say they're going to do. But the issue is them not acting on it, right? So we want to dive into it. A lot of people haven't seen their money allegedly. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, like we said, not a lot of people, I shouldn't say that. A couple people have taken their own lives because they bet their last dollar on these investments, and the money's nowhere to be found. And just very unfortunate. not necessarily a topic we want to talk about, especially from our community. It's causing some rifts and some ties between other Latinos and whatnot. But it has to be spoken about. Not many other platforms are speaking about it, so we want to fill that void and talk about how we can prevent it, how we can, educate our people and help our people out. You know what I'm saying?
No, for sure. I think that, first and foremost, obviously, we want to say that our condolences to the families that have lost loved ones. Given this situation, this is something, like we said, it's extremely important. It's super serious. It's not a joking matter. I've seen some memes. I've seen a lot of things based upon it, but I want to say that obviously us here at Wealth Wednesdays, Latin Wealth, we take it very seriously, and we just want to address the issue and, maybe give some practical steps or talk about ways to avoid getting into this situation. But Chris, it's just so hard, man, given, we were talking, but basically in everything that a person does, they could be scammed. Someone can come up with something and scam people. And my biggest issue with this, obviously, is that there's been lives lost, right? But the biggest issue, or the root of it, is that, it's seemingly black and brown taking from the working class of our own people. And you're like, well, would you rather it go from the rich people or I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, what's happening is it's our own people, and we're taking from people that have worked out. And, and I want you guys to just take this visual, right? And just sit here for a second. Think about this. It's your mother or your aunt, right? They're in their late 50s, early 60s. They've worked for the school for 25 to 30 years. Every cent that they have, they put it toward raising you, their children, and helping you with their grandchildren, your children, doing everything they can to be a model citizen and helping to impart knowledge into the next generations. They work for 25, 30 years, right? They got $250,000 that they put into a 401k, right? Along comes this person that's advertising on the radio, who's a very famous person, right? And that advertisement, on the basis of this person being that famous and seemingly having other businesses that are being successful and doing the things that they need to do, you take it at face value and say, okay, this person he's trustworthy, right? And then obviously you let's say that, aunt or mom invests that $200,000, it could have been, right, with this person. Now it's a year and a half later, 2 years later, there's no money. They haven't seen their money. Your mom or aunt is getting ready to retire. They can't retire now. They have to keep working. They keep working. And the stress of what's going on, now your mom or grandma or mom or aunt, grandma, right, has a nervous breakdown and they end up in the hospital. They've had a stroke. You're like, man, you're going too deep. No, this is actual stuff that goes on. This is real stuff that's going on. This is, the actualization, the realizations of what these type of actions do inside of our community, in a community that's already, what did we say, Chris? The Latino and the Black community were already the bottom two when it comes to actual median income in the United States. So we're already beaten down as a people, right? We're 1 and 2 in the lowest category. And so, like, Chris, I said that story, but this is stuff that's going on, man. And so when you see this, or when you heard Nancy write that message to you, that DM, how does that make you feel? Just you, before we get like super deep into it, how do you feel about this? Like, you personally?
It struck a chord with me. Like, I felt bad for the people. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's, again, allegedly over $3 million in loss. People, investing $500,000, $1 million, life savings. Some of them got, supposedly they got.
So that's gone up since then.
Yeah, I mean, it probably has gone up, but like some of them has gotten like, car accident, lawsuit, and they use that money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and for someone to reach out and be like, yo, you guys have to talk about this. For one, I'm grateful that person trusts us to come on here and talk about it. And I appreciate that person holding us accountable.
Yes.
But I feel bad. Like this is a tough subject to talk about. And unfortunately, it's going to continue to happen. we just want to do our place and, try to educate as much as possible. I'm sure, I don't know if you've been in, situations where you've been scammed, but there's been a couple of times where I've been scammed and close to being scammed. So it kind of hurts, you know what I'm saying? Because these are people in our community that would, it looked like they were doing good. It looked like we're all coming together. It looked like the big voices in our community were working together.
Right. And it was
Uh,
unification,
it
right?
looked like it was
It
unified.
was black and brown working together, which is
Yeah.
something that's super important because we don't see enough of that.
Yeah. And that's what it appeared to be. But again, we spoke about ulterior motives and like people having, yeah, man, it's nuts, man. Um, it's super unfortunate, like, because
It's uncomfortable. It's even
it is,
uncomfortable for us to talk about it. I'm not even in the situation, but you feel like, do you feel that kind of like
it is. I'll tell you
it's
this
weird?
because it's weird because I've interacted with damn near all the people that are kind of involved. And
Likewise.
I spoke to you. I was like, I've never had no bad anything with any of
Right.
these people. They've been cool to me.
Right.
Um, were they intentional about it? They mean to like harm these people? I highly doubt it. Did they just slip up? I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, man, it's tough,
And
And
again,
I
everything
feel
that
for
we're
the people.
saying is alleged. Now, the only thing that isn't alleged by the things, and I want to clear that up because,
Yeah, please
disclaimer,
do. Please do.
everything we're saying is alleged. We aren't pointing the finger of guilt. We're not, that's not for us to do. Obviously, that's up for, judge and jury or civil or however, whatever. But we're just stating that. And the only thing that's not alleged is the people that have lost their lives due to this.
Mm,
That's not alleged. That
yeah,
happened. And
that's a
so
fact.
this is something that's super important for people to understand that even if it is alleged and it happens that they get cleared, that means that the lack of communication caused this, right? That means that there was a gap or a lapse in communication. And so there wasn't clear communication stating to the people that, oh, in such and such amount of time, your money would, come back to you, or, that would come later. So
Yeah, and it's
that's
like it's almost like the trust has been broken already.
right.
It's like a lot of these people, like the individual you're talking about, who's older, that's been working their whole life
Right.
as a teacher or whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, man, I put my trust in one person. I can't put my trust in another person. Like, I'm
They're
never going to
done.
build wealth.
They're
They're
done.
done. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I do want to go over is what's the scam and what's not a scam, because there's a couple things on the internet that people may see and they may think, oh, they may immediately think that's a scam. That's not good business.
Yeah.
One of the most common things that you see people selling are courses.
Yes.
I would say courses are, for the most part, if they're done right, they're not a scam. It's up to you to act on the information and implement it and work the information. If somebody's giving you, it's no different than you buying a book. I don't know very many people calling different books out here scams that they don't act on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So building an influence, not a scam. Just because you have an influence online,
Yep.
or you're trying to build an influence, doesn't mean that they're a scammer, right? I want to take these fears out of people's thoughts, right? Ebooks, other digital products, other physical products that people sell, I wouldn't consider it a scam. Again, a lot of these products are pieces of information that you have to act on, that you need to do something about. That's my thoughts about like what are not scams. What are your thoughts? Did I miss anything? What are your thoughts about that?
No, I would agree with that. I would also state that there are certain investments out here. Myself being a personal finance analyst, connected with financial advising and in the space of actual finance, licensed and everything.
Yep.
There are actual investments that are risk adverse. Okay. And so if you sit and hear someone, there are, I just want to put it out there that it's not impossible to get into an investment that doesn't have inherent risk. Now, a lot of people will tell you it's impossible, right? Every single investment has risk. That's not true. That's just what we've been taught. But there are actual, products, there's actual things and actual strategies that don't have a risk. Now, you have to be very selective in understanding where those things come from. But usually, what do we say? If something sounds too good to be true, it is. That's not true always, because we're a little bit indoctrinated to losing money, I feel. But I just wanted to add that on there as well. If you sit down with someone that, a financial advisor or a personal finance person that's going to sit down and help you, there are options out there that everything isn't risk-based. But someone just coming to you up off of the street, no credentials, no nothing. Yeah.
It's tough. Yeah, 100%. So I want to dive into how can we prevent this and what are some best practices when investing? You know what I'm saying? We can probably go back and forth if you want, but what are your thoughts about that?
Like we just said, due diligence, right? Number one is do your homework on anything that's offered to you. Do your due diligence. That means you dig in, you find out for yourself. You're not relying on someone to bring you the information. You need to go in and actually find and do the research yourself on that specific, whether it's a program or it's a system that they're offering via a course or a product that they're offering. Go in and do the research on that product. There should be background information on it. You should stay away from offers that utilize impulse, right? And what I mean by that is if they're leaning on you to do it, like FOMO, which is fear of missing out, if they're leaning on you and using tactics like that, getting you to want to try to invest very quickly, and you can't sit and think about things rationally and strategically, then it's probably not something that you want to be that it's probably still scamish. If it's leaning on you like, oh, you got to do it today or else it goes away, that's probably not, take away from that. I would say avoid unregistered offerings. That was one of the things that I thought about when it came to the Dow thing situation, right? It's like, was that a registered offering? And what does that mean? That means, are there regulatory bodies that are going to help to actually control that? And that are going to be able to say, like, if something goes wrong, like, oh no, you're going to get your money back, or no, that's a violation of said regulation, this rule, this, right? And so you want to make sure that things are actually registered in the correct manner. And
How do you even
that's
check for
something.
that?
Huh?
How do you even check for that?
Well, I mean, if it's a certain investment, if it's an actual investment, it could be SEC registered. You can check on the SEC website. You can actually look that up. Or you can ask the person that's offering it, right, to provide the credentials, to provide the actual background information for whatever it is that they're offering. Hey, give me FDIC regulation numbers, give me NAIC numbers, like, actually ask them to provide you with the regulatory registrations for whatever the product is or whatever it is that they're doing. And that it's not just some idea that you came up with and, there's no backing for it, basically, no regulation of it.
How much validation does a company that has on their website, oh, we are with the Better Business Bureau, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there validation to that?
Yeah, I mean, there's no value because they could just take a logo and put it on that website, right? But you can do your due diligence of going to the Better Business Bureau, because all of these various entities that judge and govern and verify these businesses, you can go to that entity on the internet, type in the company's name, and it'll pull up their scorecard. And if it's an F, if it's a D, like A plus, A, whatever, you'll literally see it right there. And you'll see all the comments as well that people have made to the Better Business Bureau about said company. So you could probably prevent yourself from being scammed if you went and saw other people got scammed or other people, there was money, right? You could literally go and people are like, well, there's always going to be negativity. Of course. But you have to be able to judge and make that, that judgment or that decision based upon the size of the company, how many people are complaining, sit back and actually look at the complaints or look at the actual, what's been posted, the comments, and then see if it's realistic or not.
Yeah, I have a couple myself. So number one for me is never invest more than you're willing to lose.
That's the point.
If you're willing to lose $500,000, I mean, that all props to you. But if that was your last dollar or $1 million,
Sure.
Like that's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, but I think it's good to determine what that percentage is. So it's okay, I'm gonna invest. You probably would be able to explain this better than me, but
Risk tolerance.
The risk tolerance is 5% of what I bring in or something like that, or my investments, right? And then for me, one of the biggest thing is never give your money to someone to invest for you. That's, to me, that could be extremely risky.
That's tough. I don't know, man.
Talk
I'm not,
about
and
it.
I'm not going against you. I respect what you're
Okay,
saying.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Because
That's tough. Yeah, because and the reason I say that is because the common person doesn't really know about investments. They just don't.
okay.
You don't understand the intricacies when it comes to reading graphs, the trends, and you can update yourself and get deeper into it. But then a lot of people have a job and they don't really stay on top of it. You need sometimes people need help. And so I can't tell you don't use someone that's going to help you because that's that person's sole career is focused in on finance. And so you might end up missing out on plays, missing out on opportunities if you're solely trying to do it yourself and you're not in that lane. You're just not in that lane all the time. And so I get what you're saying. I do agree because then that makes people go and dig and get the education themselves. But there's people like myself and other people that this is our whole life. This is all we do is finance. And so it's going to be difficult for you to know more than a person that this is their whole career.
I think maybe what I was trying to say is like, yo, if somebody on social media, okay, they're reaching out and they're like, yo, I got this deal, or yo, I got this new crypto coin.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that thing maybe
Yes.
that's what I'm
Yes.
meaning by that. But and if you do want to invest with that person, the next thing is having a contract in play. Extremely important. Probably the most important thing you can do is having a contract in play.
I agree. You got to watch it nowadays, man, because these people had contracts, man, but
Yeah.
some people don't care. I'm just saying you could really get like there's some like it's some very discrepulous people here, man. They don't have morals. You're dealing in a certain world that certain people just don't care. And you're like, well, legally I can go and do certain things. The only thing I would add, let me add one more. I agree with you. One thing I would say is if you're going to do any type of investment, go through your bank. Your bank is going to be covered up to $250,000.
Yeah.
Go through your bank, right?
Literally
do a wire to whatever entity that it is. And so if everything falls off, if everything's bad, you can literally go into your bank with the fraud or with the actual claims department and say, man, this person frauded me. It was fraudulent. The services provided were not as promised. I need my money back. And that's a much easier, road than taking cash. So that would be the second thing. Go through your bank and then don't do it through cash basis. Do it through verified transactions, right? Make sure your transactions are verified.
If you do it through cash, that's it. You out.
You're not getting that money back. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say that. It's just
highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely. Very highly unlikely. Yep.
So I have a question. So if someone, let's just say they want to invest $500,000 and they're insured up to $250,000, you just do two different transactions, or how does that work?
No. So that's $250,000 total for that given bank, for that entity. You would have to do $250,000 through one entity, and you have another account, do $250,000 through that entity.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Love it. So what else? What other ways can they avoid some of these scams?
Number one is stop giving. Well, for me, right? And this is maybe something super simple, but this is a mindset thing. Let's stop giving value to fame and celebrity. Right?
Talk about it. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with celebrities. I'm not saying anywhere, however, whatever, but DJ Envy he's not a financial advisor.
He's a DJ.
He's a DJ. He plays music. So if I want to ask about Hip Hop 50, who just turned 50, congratulations to hip hop, then I want to break down some hip hop history, I'm going to go DJ Envy. If I'm actually sitting and talking about real estate or finances, I'm going to go to someone that actually that's their mode, right? And so stop giving celebrities platforms, right? Like, and they have influence and things like that, but you need to go to people that actually know what they're talking about. And that's no shade to him, but it's just like he's a DJ. It's not his thing, right?
And he came out and said that. He came out and said that, to be fair. Like, yo, I leave all that to Caesar. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, you bring it homie on the platform too, right? So it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Because there's a lot of language that states it's a unified,
Oh, for
like,
sure,
right? It's
100%,
some
100%.
language that was used that state it was a unified front, but now it's separate. So all I'm saying is just that, you know, um, you can avoid all this. We don't even have to get into fraudulent, Fed based. But and I'm not even. It's nothing against people that have had a history. We all have history. I got a history. Chris has a history, right? And we all learn from our history. I'm just saying, you need to have verifiable checkpoints that states where a person's coming from. You have to have like a basis, a baseline that says this person has done 300 deals, and out of 300, 280 of them all came back money. Right. And the reason I say that is because, like, for the Better Business Bureau, when they rate companies, like let's say insurance company, I'm heavy in the finance and insurance industry. With an insurance carrier, if they haven't paid out one claim, just one, right, they go to an A- rating. You can't be an A plus rated business in that particular industry if you've ever missed one claim. And so that carries into other industries. And what I mean by that is, if you see the companies rated a B or a C, then you know there's some funny business. Then it's just up to you to see how much funny business was there, and if you're still okay with doing business with them. But this is all in doing research, and this goes back to, again, stop giving platform and fame the platform. Actually listen to people, because Chris, this is something I want to talk about. There are people that are around various individuals. There's people around us every single day that give us advice, but because they're not famous or because they don't drive a Lamborghini, we don't listen to those people. And that's only, and I want to say something, that's only in our culture. That's in our cultures only. That's only in our cultures. Nobody else is like that, because literally you go to other cultures, in Asian culture, right? They can see someone driving a Toyota, but if the person's advice is sound and it's knowledgeable, they're going to take that advice, right? If they go over to the Jewish community, they could be, I don't care, riding a minivan, but if the advice is sound, they're going to take the advice. We are the only people, Black and brown people are the only cultures that do that. Well, you don't got a Bugatti, so you don't know what you're talking about. Not even thinking that Bugatti could have been acquired through illegitimate means, or if it's just me selling that I know how to do what I'm doing to people versus me actually doing what it is I'm telling you about.
100%. I mean, that's how they get us. They they use emotions, they use marketing, and they they sell us hope, because they know that's what's gonna draw our attention. They know that's what we want, and that's what we idolize. We're very materialistic.
Yes.
So if they can go rent out their
We're
Lambo,
consumers.
we're consumers.
We're consumers.
If they can go rent out their Lambo for a week and use that as marketing to draw you in, to invest with them, to buy this, that, and that, whatever the case is,
then they got enough to go buy one.
100%, 100%. And man, it's tough. Like, we're doing our best to like break down how to avoid it, but it's very tough to cut through all the weed.
You and I have the conversations all the time. This is a conversation. I want you guys to know this is a conversation me and Chris have actually been talking about for quite a while.
Time. Yeah, all the time.
We haven't brought it up on the, because, right, however, but things have come down to the point to where, like we said, Nancy even stated, and thank you, Nancy, but to where people have lost their lives. This is something we can't be quiet about, because any of the information, when it comes to myself, Chris has vetted me. I want you guys to know, we'll give a website thing, but you need to go and vet people. If they're not licensed, they're not registered, their stuff isn't up to it. Please do your due diligence. Don't allow people.
I was gonna say, if they have lawsuits out, what are the lawsuits for? Like, all these things are public information you can go find.
Yes, and that's a huge thing that, when it comes to us and our cultures, right? We have to be okay with reading and researching. Like, you got to get into the mode of diving deeper than just the surface. Oh, he's cool. That's not enough. Him being cool is not enough. That's just not enough. What do you mean? I mean, that's not enough. Him being famous, that's not enough. Does he know what he's talking about? Like, literally, it's just not enough. I know guys that have I've looked on on Instagram. Literally, there's guys that have 15 followers and they're billionaires, and you would never know it.
You would never know.
You'd never know it because you're looking for the gloss and the glam and the gold and the diamonds and the all stuff that really doesn't matter. I mean, I don't say it doesn't matter, but in the grand scheme of wealth, it doesn't really matter. These are depreciating assets that you're looking at.
100%. So let's do a quick recap to bring it all together.
Yes,
so
sir.
for me, never invest more than you're willing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out that number for yourself, that percentage, and stand by it.
Mm-hmm.
Be very cautious about giving your money to somebody else to invest for you. You know what I'm saying? And if you are going to do that, do your best to have a lawyer come in to create a contract or create a legitimate contract. One of the ones I left off that you kind of mentioned was using a bank. I mentioned using like a proper invoicing system. So not Cash App, not, just sending random money or using cash, going with your bank so it's insured and things of that nature. What did I miss from your end? There's a couple that you had.
So due diligence. Number one
Due
is the due
diligence,
diligence, right? Doing
huge.
your own research on whatever company or the offering that's there. And then we talked about secure transactions. That's the bank. And then we talked about avoid unregistered offerings. And what I mean by that is make sure that there's a regulatory service or something behind that's going to hold those people accountable.
Yep. Love it. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is way easier said than done, but like no amount of money is worth taking your life over. You know what I'm saying? Your time is way more valuable than any type of money out there. It's funny because this will be the last thing I say, but on social media, I came across, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Eric Thomas, and there was a young lady that was asking her a question. You can tell she's trying to go viral with the clip or whatever, but she had asked him, would you rather have $1 billion or would you rather have air? And he picked the air. This is what he said. He said, because when you have air, you have purpose, you have drive, you have life. With the money, you can have that and you can lose it immediately. And if you know Eric Thomas, he went viral for saying, if you want to be successful as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful.
Right.
And he said, notice I said, not as bad as you want water, not as bad as you want food, but air, as bad as you want to live.
Yes.
So what I got from that is like, yo, your life, your time is infinitely more valuable than any type of money out there. Because at the end of the day, if I said, Jeremiah, if I were to give you $1 million today, would you take it? He would say yes. But if I said, yo, you got to be gone tomorrow, he'd probably say no, because he got a family, he got people he's trying to help out, he's a leader and whatnot. He'd say, no, I don't need that $1 million. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep.
We're just trying to come on here, educate y'all, encourage y'all as much as possible. Yeah, is there anything else that you got for the folks?
No, I would just tell people just to remain vigilant. Always make sure that you are placing yourself in the position to be in control of your financial situation. I think that's what he was alluding to when he said, hey, before, be very cautious when you have other people, controlling your money. Oprah still signs her own checks. That's a factual statement. She's a billionaire, right? She still signs her own checks. And so what I mean by that is do your research, learn to read, learn to actually, investigate everything that's being offered to you. And so you can find what's right for you and your individualized goals and situation, because what's right for me may not be right for Chris. And what's right for Chris may not be right for the next man. And so you just want to make sure that you're staying up on top of your game for you and your family. And so that way you're not placed into one of these situations, or you can avoid it at all costs.
And with that being said, share this episode with as many people as possible that needs to hear this, people that are thinking about investing, that are investing. Whatever the case is, let's prevent these stories from happening. We want to get back to pouring into the community, educating y'all as much as possible. So share this with as many people as possible. And with that being said, it's the Latin Wealth family. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.